Hello everyone, Vanguard of Valor here, and welcome back to Dwarf Fortress. We have now gotten our world crafted to our specifications. We've got our game actually up and running as well. We've got everything we need to choose our location, and we've found where we wanted to build. But now, we actually have to start our journey, and that is a whole other step. So, this little screen here is where you can pick the dwarves that you'll be taking with you. I'm not actually sure what Play Now does, but the other options are prepare for the journey carefully, which is what we're going to be doing, and 4 custom setups that come with the Lazy Noob Pack. Now, these are all combinations of dwarves and whatnot that actually will help you get started. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming in here to plan for the journey carefully. That gives us a whole bunch of points to build with, to give our dwarves, our 7 starting dwarves, all the skills they could need to help us be able to build a base. We're going to get more dwarves over time, but we'll start off with them. Now we can hit tab as well to bring along some supplies with us. We can bring along animals as well if we'd like. But for now, we'll start off with our dwarves. We have a point limit, you can see right down here at the bottom, 270 points, which does apply to both sides. So if we were to, say, take away one of our copper battle axes, we can reduce that by hitting minus key. Now we have 338 points to deal with. So there are ways of getting and losing points here that we're going to need to try and do if we want to try and get everything the way we want it. So let's go back over to the other screen. We can tab over to dwarves. And we have 7 dwarves here with no skills. We can see all the skills they don't have if we look over here with the right arrow key and look at all these things in this list. There's a whole pile of skills here. I think this is all of them? No, not quite. There's some more down the bottom here. And they all have relevance in some way or another. Some of them aren't exactly useful, but they have their purposes. Now what we want, though, is we want to make sure we have 2 core things. 2 core miners. So we're going to make sure that we put maximum of points into mining, which is going from level 5 here on the right hand side to level 10. So we want to make sure we have proficient miners. We'll have 2 of them. So we'll go down here to our other person here, Ilral Kokebonul. We have interesting names for dwarves, as they always do. So we have Catan Febkin, Ilral Kokebonul, Tun Kelostil, Catan Gushlagl, Medtuck Oldlson, Vukar Othenluxok, and Moral. There's a mouthful of names there. We'll put some points into his mining as well. We always want to have 2 miners because otherwise you can have a hard time getting everything you need done. There's also a maximum of 10 levels you can put into anything, so we just put 5 into mining for these 2 people. Our first miner, we're also going to give a second job. Of all of these things on this list, we need a building designer, because that'll be someone who will help us be able to actually create our more complicated buildings. So we're going to make him a proficient building designer so he can make the more complicated things. Our next miner, I think you're probably just going to stay a miner. I could give you some other jobs, but I have a feeling you'll be doing a lot of digging anyway, so you can stay as just a miner for the time being. Our next dwarf, what are we going to make him do? I think we'll make him be a woodcutter, perhaps, or a mason. That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure which is ideal there. We could make him a woodcutter, because we are going to need a good woodcutter, and we can also make him something else, maybe? Let's take a look here down our list. Is there anything else we need? Well, we're going to need a herbalist as well. So while he's up cutting trees, we can make him a herbalist so that he can gather plants as well as cutting down trees. Now, as long as we don't give him too many of those things to do, we'll make sure we still have enough trees. But this way we'll have a nice supply of those things. So that should keep us well supplied on digging ability, well supplied on plants. We can come down to our next person. We'll make him a mason, because we do need someone who can work with stone. Because while wood is important, we need stone as well. We should also make a carpenter, I imagine. A carpenter and a mason would probably be good ideas. So a mason, that'll keep him busy. We'll make our carpenter down here the next person. We're only going to give them these skills because they're going to be doing a lot of woodworking, a lot of stoneworking, and we don't want to give them more than they can actually handle. So we have a woodworker and a stoneworking dwarf. That's good. They're going to have a lot of work on their hands, so with that to do, they should be okay. Our next dwarf down here is going to have a more important job for our team. He's going to be our grower, which is basically the job of being a farmer, so we can actually supply our people with food, enough to keep them, well, living, because our starting food is only going to last for so long. We need to get more food later on. And we're going to also come down here to brewer and max that up as well. So when he's not working on the farm, he can be making us some alcohol. And alcohol is a very important part of our game. Dwarves need alcohol to function because they're dwarves. So if we don't have a nice healthy supply of booze, the dwarves get a little bit unhappy. So we'll have to make sure that's a priority when we're starting up here. And we're also going to come to our last person. We're running out of jobs here to give them, but we're definitely going to make sure we give this guy a very important job indeed. It's not going to be super key at the beginning, but it will be very important later. We're going to give him some points in wound dressing. Wound dressing, there we go. Diagnosing, surgery, being a bone doctor, and being a suturer. Those are all... Can I not give him that one? Ooh, where are the points? We have to go to the other side because we're going to make sure we got enough to give him all of these levels. We need a doctor. That's what he's going to be doing, but he also has some other important jobs to do. So let's come in here to our items and make sure we can get rid of some of the things we're not going to be using. I don't think we need that many crutches, splints, and buckets at the start, and that'll give us 30 extra points. We're using plus and minus to add and remove some of these things. A wheelbarrow, I'm not convinced we need either, but I'll hold on to it for the time being in case it helps us move things around. We have some quivers and some ropes. We can probably make our own rope fairly quickly, so we'll reduce some rope, reduce some fiber bags, some cloth, and some thread, because we should be able to get some of those of our own later on without too much trouble. And that'll give us a whole other 145 points, which is a nice big number. This is some food we have, which is always good to have a nice variety. It doesn't cost a whole lot anyway. We always want to keep an anvil, because getting an anvil without having an anvil to begin with is a pain in the butt, so we'll keep that. And I think that's probably pretty solid. If we tab over to the other menu now, we can make sure that this guy can actually be a decent suturer, and we want to give him some more points, because 5 of his points into these skills, but he still doesn't have to max out one skill. So we're going to... Oh no, we shouldn't even do that. We should still mix out his skills a little bit, because there's a couple things we still need. We need an administrator. So what we're going to be giving him is, how about appraiser? That's an important skill, because appraiser is going to help when we have trade caravans coming in. And he'll be our broker. He'll be the one who negotiates us good deals. And we also want him to be... Where is... There's an administrator style skill in here somewhere, I think. Is it on the side? No, I don't see it. I don't recall. Judge of intent, organizer, record keeper. Leader, there we go. Looking for leader. So we'll make him a slightly better leader. He can be an adequate, I don't know, competent leader, adequate appraiser. There we go. So he is going to be our leader and our doctor if need be. As a leader and a broker, he won't have much to do, but hopefully the doctor job can keep him busy if he needs it. Now, this should keep all of our dwarves nice and busy. We still have 111 points to spend, though. We don't want to waste any, so we're going to make sure we go back in there and spend some of those. But we have all of our dwarves with jobs that are important to us. We have our leader and our doctor down here. We have our cook and our brewer, our farmer and our brewer. We have our carpenter, our mason, our woodcutter and herbalist. And we have our 2 miners, one of which is our building designer. Those are all pretty key jobs that we're going to need. There's some other jobs in there that we're going to want later on, like mechanic. Mechanic is a very useful skill. So once we get some more dwarves, we'll be finding some of them. We're also going to be trying to work on getting a military up and running once we get some people. I might as well give one of our dwarves some military skill, maybe. Maybe I'll make our mason also good at using a axe, because if we don't have someone to begin with who has some skill, it's going to make things difficult for us. So we'll make him a decent axeman. There we go. He's proficient axeman as well as being a mason. So we have someone good at fighting skills. So when we actually start our military, we'll have that going. There's a lot of thinking that goes into building up these skills. So that's why I'm making sure we go over them all, because otherwise we'll have a hard time later on. There's a lot of military skills, and we're only going to put points into axemen for now. So we have someone who's skilled at using a weapon. Ooh, okay. Awesome. Let's take a look at our items again. We want to possibly add some more items into our list. So of the things we're starting out with, I think we're going to try and start out with a couple more seeds for things. We're going to want some more plump helmet spawn, because that's the seed we're going to be using the most. So we're going to get a lot of those. Instead of just bringing 5, let's bring 35, because we're going to want lots of those, otherwise we're going to have a hard time getting our farms up and running. We're also going to want to bring a little bit more alcohol with us. So we'll bring, say, 30 wines, 30 rums, and 30 ales. Not quite enough for that. So we'll take 20 ales and 30 of the others. We're pretty close to being out of resources here, but we don't have quite everything we have, so we might need to take some of these choices back. We're down to 25 of these and 25 of those, because one thing else we want to bring is some cats. We're going to bring ourselves a female cat and a male cat. That means that our cats will breed and we'll have plenty of cats, and cats are good for a couple reasons. One thing is they're good at hunting down vermin, and the second thing is if we need food, if we need bones, if we need, fat, if we need anything of that kind, we can kill our cats. And while it does sound awful, it's kind of partially necessary and very useful, because those resources are hard to get if you don't have a resource that replenishes itself like our cats will, because cats really breed like crazy, and if we don't kill them off, we're going to have a cat apocalypse. We're going to have 1 billion cats. I had this happen in one of my earliest games. I didn't deal too well with my cats, and there was just so many cats by the end of the game. It was crazy. So we're going to need to do that to keep them in check, but they will do a great job of keeping our vermin problem in check, which should help make sure that none of our food supplies go missing or anything like that. So I think we're pretty well set up here. We could take some dogs as well, but I think we'll just stick with the cats for now, and we'll spend our 4 remaining resources on 2 more dwarven ales. So now we're down to 0 points remaining. We have all of our dwarves set up with all the skills we really want to have. We have all the resources we really want to have. Not to say that this is what you necessarily need to have, but it's something that we're going to be using for the purpose of these videos. Hopefully, it will be good enough to get us through. Yes, indeed. Well, let's see how it goes. We're going to be embarking for real this time. We're getting into the game at long last. Oh, hang on, one more thing. We should rename our fortress. I tricked you. Oh, wow, I've never actually tried to do this before. Wow, what is this even? Oh, interesting. Wow. It's a complicated naming structure. Oh, wow. Okay, it's too complicated. We'll stick with the name they create. That seems fine by me. Alright, so let's get into this thing. Let us embark here on our adventure and get started. Here we go. We're embarking at long last. Might take us a little while to actually load this up, but it should jump us right into the game. Yeah, see, there's that crash I'm talking about. Here we go. We have arrived. After a journey from the mountain homes into the forbidding wildernesses beyond, our harsh trek has finally ended. Our party of 7 is to make an outpost for the glory of all of Thortig Imesh. That's apparently our clan, I guess? There are almost no supplies left, but with stout labor comes sustenance. Whether by bolt, plow, or hook, provide for your dwarves. You are expecting a supply caravan just before winter entombs us, but it is spring now. Enough time to delve secure lodgings ere the dingoes get hungry. A new chapter of dwarven history begins here, at this place. Nishostar. Trade burials. Strike the earth. So that is our introduction, and here we are in the game. This is it. We've made it. Now, this little screen here is just our map data, and it's not very useful. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit tab to make it go away, and tab again to make this screen move over. So we have the playable space more on our screen. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Oh my goodness, what are we looking at? We got stuff everywhere. Look at this. There's blue over there, there's green over there, there's some red, there's black over here. What is going on? Well, I will explain it to you. First of all, in the center of the screen here, we have our dwarves. There are all 7 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This is our caravan here with all of our goods. We have some of our animals that we brought with us. There's our cats right there. And we have some of the animals that were pulling our caravan here, like I believe we have a bison. And the rest of this stuff is the world that we're living in. This is all of these green spaces are the grass and whatnot with our varied grass texture. These are all the different kinds of trees. We have some rocks here. We've got some plants. This is a heavily wooded area, which is great because we're going to be clear-cutting that sucker to get lots of wood. We've got a little pond down here. This downward arrow means that you can go down a level from there. So say if we were to go down a level, which I can do by hitting the triangle brackets that go to the left, we can go down. That's up a layer, rather. To go to the right is down. We can see that that's a pond there. 7 deep water. We come back up. This here as well is an edge on a hill. So if we see these arrows somewhere, we know we can go up a layer. So we go up a layer and we see, oh look, there's that. We can go up a layer again, and we can keep climbing as we rise higher and higher up this hill. So we're apparently at the bottom of a very steep hill here, which means we can do some very interesting vertical building if we build down near the bottom. So we have a lot of stuff here. This blue space is just open air, and as we lower down, it fills in with the ground below it. So there we go. This is actually a great spot for starting into our mountain, because if we dig in right there, we have a lot of a lot of mountain underneath us. So this is a very interesting starting location. Down here we have the stream that we were so keen on finding, and it goes along this way. It's an interesting color. I haven't seen a stream that color before. But that's what that is. So we're going to be using that to get some water into our camp later on. And basically this is a pretty cool place. This is our world here. If there's anything else to find, we'll figure it out once we get there. But so far, this is what we've got. Now, we're still not going to be playing this game yet. The challenge now is to figure out what's going on. What do we do? If we start the game, our dwarves are just going to stand around there until they eventually starve. So we have a whole bunch of options over here on the right-hand side. We'll quickly look at them, see what they are all for, and then we will get started on building our actual fortress. I know, takes a long time, but these things are important. So we'll get through them and then we'll be able to keep moving. So, what do we have? Well, first of all, starting at the top here, hitting the A key gives you the ability to view announcements. We have no announcements because nothing's happened, but this little screen here will let us know if things have been unable to be completed for whatever reason, if there are enemies that have appeared, how fights are going, well, not how fights are going, that's a different screen, but anything like that. If we have found minerals underground, if anything has gone wrong anywhere, if a strange mood has hit one of our dwarves, anything like that. It gives us a good idea of what's going on in our fortress. So if there's something that's happened while we weren't looking, we can always hit A and check the list. The B key gives us our building menu and gives us the ability to place buildings with our various dwarves. We have to have built them beforehand or have the materials to build them now, but this lets us actually construct things. Hitting C lets us view the civilizations that are going on in the world. Apparently the dwarves are the only civilization around. That's unusual. Normally after having 125 years, there's something more than dwarves. But that's interesting. That means that we're probably not going to have any other caravans coming in but dwarves because there are no humans and there are no elves. So that's interesting. Apparently there aren't even any goblins. That's very strange. I've never seen that happen with this rather long of a civilization. But perhaps that's just our civilization, just because we haven't discovered the other ones, they're not in the list. I don't think I've ever actually checked that menu though this early in the game. Normally though, that'll let you see the civilizations and see some details on them. The D key, the designations key, is a big one. That's what lets us mark things to be done. It lets us mark mining, it lets us mark cutting down trees, gathering plants, engraving on stones, all kinds of things. So it's a very useful button that we'll be using quite a lot. That's the D key. We can hit the U key to look at all of our units, all of our dwarves, and we can look at them in a bit more detail from this menu. We can also look at our animals. We have our cats, we have a horse and a yak bull. We can look at what anything else is going on. We look at dead people. Anything. No one has gone missing or died. The year is still young. That's ominous. Anyway, so we can look at units and things from this menu. We can get access to our military with the M key. There's nothing in there yet, but we'll be getting to that later on. Using N, we'll write points and routes and notes, which basically places markers on the terrain that people will walk between or whatnot. But we're not going to make too much use of that. The W key makes burrows, which are basically like restricted areas that people can or can't leave. Stockpiles is P, which is very good. That lets us set areas that are designated for certain resources or whatnot, which is also very useful. We're going to be using those quite a bit too. We can set building tasks. So by hitting Q, we can go into a building and say, you know, if this is a workshop, build something here. Q is a very useful key. Use it to do a lot of stuff in this game. That's how you interact with things for the most part. We can hit, yeah, what are some of the keys here? Not all of these are very useful, so I'll skip ahead to some of the other ones. And lets us see our nobles. We can see these are different roles that our nobles can take once we put people into those jobs. And right now we have Madtom Urlisan, Udil Usan, the expedition leader. And he'll have things that he needs, he'll have things that he wants, he'll have a variety of different things later on. But for now we don't have to worry about this screen too much. We can also look at things like our Z menu. Our Z is our status menu. It shows us a lot of information about our camp. But since we don't have some dwarves doing certain jobs, we can't see a lot of these things. We don't have a broker assigned, so we can't see our wealth or how trades have been going. We don't have a bookkeeper, so we can't see exact numbers on our stores. We have a variety of things going on, like we have the classes that we have visible here. And all those kinds of things appear over time, but we don't have most of them, so they're not going to be too useful yet. But this will be very useful later. There's a lot of information available on this screen. Also important is the reports menu with R. Reports doesn't do much now because nothing's happened yet, but that will let us see exactly what's happening in combat if we want to make sure we're following what's going on. That's a very useful thing. We can also use... Some of the other keys here are fairly useful, but we'll get into them when they happen. The only other one we'll get into now is K, which is our look key. That is how you actually see what is what. So say you wanted to see what this is, This is a shrub. This is a chestnut tree. This is a chestnut tree as well. There's a lot of chestnut trees around here apparently. Maples. We've got some bent grass. We've got, what is this? A shrub, a willow sapling. We've got all kinds of things. We can look exactly what they are. So willow over here by this pool. We can't look at it now because we're above it. We go down a layer. We'll see this is a stagnant pool of 7 by 7 water. All this information can be gathered by hitting K and moving your cursor over the object in question. So here we see we have a brook. We can look at that and see exactly what's going on there. So all that stuff is that. We have now figured out how to look at our world. But now what do we do? We have a world here. We have people. We got dwarves. We got cats. I can't go wrong with having cats. We got a caravan. What do we do with it? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what you do with it. What we're going to start off with is starting by getting some of our work here moving, because if we don't get moving here, we're going to find ourselves badly overrun. If we look up at the area above, we find that this area has this overcrop here. So if we dig a channel here, we're just going to be digging out this overcrop. So that's not the most convenient thing. But if we move over a little bit and dig in here, then we'll be right in the mountain wall. So that's what we're going to try and do first. We're going to come... I think this is probably the ideal place to do it. We'll hit D to designations, D again to designate mining areas. Then we're going to come over to here, I think. This looks like a good spot to me. We're going to select the area that we want. Oh, have I told it to mine? Yes, I have. We select the area we want by hitting Enter. We select the area with a large rectangular selection tool. And we're going to dig into the mountain. And we're going to dig in right to here. You want to make sure that it is at least 3 wide, because that is the size needed for caravans to enter into your fortress. So we want to make sure that there's enough room for people to come visit us, because they're going to be bringing us all manner of important things. Once we've dug in a little bit like this, we also need to make ourselves a space that is 5 by 5 wide, because that is going to be where the caravans actually stop and lay out their goods. After that, we're going to want to make sure that we get our path going a little bit further. We're going to build a little bit of a strangely shaped one here, because we are looking to build in some security measures here as well. We're going to be building over here to the left of our mountain. So next on our list is building a bit more of some obstructive paths, so that things are a little bit harder to get into or get out of, and then we'll be digging down into the earth. So let's see here. If we dig up right here, are we still safely on the ground? Yes, we are. Good. So we build right across. I'm terrible at English right now. Right across to there. And we're going to set aside one large room right about here. That should do for now. And we're going to connect that to this area with some doors. So we'll create some spaces in the wall here. And we will create another one here, I suppose, and we'll extend this area by 3. There we go. So we've made this space here. It's a big brown blob, and that is a designated area for people to come in and mine out. So now that we've told our dwarves to do this, our digger dwarves will get to work and they will chug out that space in the ground. And that means we'll be able to use these for various things in the future once we've actually got some space in there. Now we have some simultaneous jobs we need to do. This is the start of our fortress. Our earth is being churned. We've actually gotten into the ground, but we haven't done that yet. And before we start, we are also going to need to start gathering some resources. So we're going to hit T now on this designation menu to designate to chop down trees, and we'll select a nice big area of trees to cut down because we're going to need a lot of them. So it will only select on the level you're currently on, and you can hit you can hit shift to designate faster, and we'll designate, say, all of those trees. That's a lot of trees, and it'll take our tree cutter downer dude quite a while to get through it. So we'll leave him to do that, and while that's going on, there's not a whole lot for other people to be doing. So we'll let that start working. Once we hit resume, our dwarves will jump into action and start working on the things we've told them to do. As we can see over here, our miner dwarves are digging out the tunnel we set them to mine. Eventually, they'll get all the way through it. We can see the materials that are in the ground here. They're changing colors. Looks like we got clay here on the surface. If we take a quick look, we'll be able to see this is loam. And if we look down here, it's silt. So this isn't a great material to be building on, but that's why we're going to be doing a little bit more digging before we actually get into this all. So our carpenter is cutting down the trees we've designated for him, so we got piles of wood coming down here, which is good. Most of our dwarves are just standing around because they don't have a whole lot to do yet, but that's okay. And you know what? I made a mistake here, so before we go any further, I'm going to fix that. We go into our designations. I do not want this area to be mined out, because this is where we're going to be putting our staircase. So, instead of hitting that, what we need to do is we need to remove that designation. So we hit X to remove designation, and clear that space out. We want to make stairs instead, and if we look at our list here, we see up-down stairway, which is the good versatile one, because there's no reason to use just an upward or downward stairway when you can use an up-down stairway, and people can use it either way if you want to expand later. We hit I to designate that, and when we designate that same area again, now it has X's on it, and those will be turned into stairs. Excuse me. So once our dwarves get to that area, ooh, we found some resources in there. What do you know? What's that? Our dwarves have found some chert. Not actually sure what chert is, but we found some, and there we go. They have dug out some stairs. Microcline, apparently, as well. So, see us here in our alerts log. We will get to by hitting A. We have struck microcline. That's well and good, but we don't need it at the moment. We need to dig out some of these areas. Our digger dwarves are going to have their work cut out for them at the moment, but for the time being, we will let them do that. We need to dig out this room here so that we have a room for our barracks later on. We're going to leave it built out so we have that space defined. Our dwarves tend to prioritize the deepest thing we tell them to dig. So if I move ahead and start digging out the next area, our dwarves are going to go straight down there and not worry about finishing off this floor, which I'd rather like them to do, especially because of the fact that these things aren't quite finished yet. This is an awful floor texture, though. It's really hard to see what areas are actually part of our floor and which are part of our wall. So we may be replacing these silt walls with actual walls later on. But for the time being, they've done a pretty good job clearing all that space out. So we're going to give them more work to do. We've dug out our entry area, which is terrible looking at the moment, and now we need to keep moving downwards. So we need to designate again into designations. We're down one floor. We can get up a floor again by going up with the left triangular bracket and right triangular bracket to go back down. We need to designate the area directly below our staircase with more staircase. By doing that, you make a staircase that people can actually go down, as long as it is actually directly underneath or directly above. And now that we have that area directly beneath, we're going to keep digging. So we're going to dig out some more areas. I liked having 3 wide corridors because when they get a bit busier with lots of dwarves moving around, people can actually get by more or less the way. They're thinner corridors, especially 1-by-1 corridors. You're just asking for your dwarves to get crashing into each other. So we'll dig out a nice big corridor here. Now, what we need here is a couple very large rooms. So, our priority is going to be those big rooms. We're going to put one big one over here, let's say. That looks like a good place to me, nice and big, because this is going to be our workshops room for now. So we'll set that down and we'll put some doors on it. We'll make sure people can get in and out fairly easily, because we don't want to have anyone getting stuck in the doorway. There we go, that'll do, and we'll put one layer less, so we hit X again to remove designations, and we can slice this layer off. There we go, that should do for now. We can always expand it later if we want. This right-hand side is going to be enormous, though. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to make a big room on this side. This is going to take our dwarves a long time to dig out, but we need this room to be enormous because this is going to be our storage room. I'm not super picky about organizing my storage space, but I do like to still have it be reasonably sized, because if we're going to have all of our storage stuff in one spot, we want to make sure we can at least get around it. And there we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... I did that one too early, didn't I? Yes, I did. That's okay. We can fix that in a second just by hitting X there again, going back to D to designate mining, sticking another layer on the end. There we go. And that's all well and good. So we have a big storage area. We have our workshop area here on the left, which is going to be dug out. And we're going to set out one more area, but we're going to wait a little bit longer before we do that, because that's going to be in the next step. We'll wait until these rooms are finished first, because we need them pretty quickly. So once our dwarves can dig those out, we'll be able to get our other dwarves getting to work, because as it stands, they need some more stuff to be done here. We struck a couple more kinds of ores, magnetite and limonite apparently, and it has started raining outside. So you'll see those blue dots hitting all over the ground. That's the water we've seen. We got a lot of wood come in, which is good. Our carpenter's doing good work out there. We'll come down here and look at our dwarves as they dig. Looks like there's a lot of gemstones in the walls here, which is pretty interesting. Wasn't expecting to see that quite so soon in the beginning of our fortress, but that's okay. Never a bad thing to have lots of minerals and stones and whatnot around. So we'll dig those up, and once they get through these resources, they will be able to get our bigger rooms going, and that's going to be an important step for us. What we're going to need to do, though, is because there's all these resources in the floor, we're going to need to dump them out somewhere else, and then we'll be able to keep working. So there's a lot of different things that go into building our fort in this game. We found Tiger Eye, there's apparently a gemstone right there. But once we get these initial rooms going, we'll be able to get into them a little bit more directly, let's say. Unfortunately, since our dwarves aren't really that skilled, it's going to take them a while to actually get started. So let's come back up here to the surface and see if there's anything our other dwarves can do. For the time being, we're going to use our barracks room as a temporary storage room, because it's going to be a while before we get our army up and going. So we're going to hit P to set a stockpile. That lets us actually put down a space. We're going to hit enter in one corner and enter across to the other corner. That designates that area as a stockpile. It means they'll put their resources in there and they'll go there to take them out. Unfortunately, it's currently designated to be an animal stockpile area, which is really not what we had in mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit C to make it a custom stockpile, and then hit T to set the custom stockpile settings. What we want to make sure we have here is we're going to make sure we have food going into there. Furniture and siege ammo, sure. Corpses, no thank you. Garbage, no thank you. But we will put in ammo and coins, bars and blocks of metals and other kinds of things like that, gems, finished goods, leather, cloth, wood, weapons and trap components, and armor. The reason we've left these things out is that stone is everywhere, and if they start filling up your stockpiles with stone, you'll have no room for anything else. Refuse is things that is like dead things and rotten things that will cause bad things to happen in your fort. We'll get into that later. And corpses, you don't want to put corpses in there. Definitely no corpses inside your fortress. Animals as well, we don't really have any animals to store because all the animals we have are freely roaming, so we're not going to worry about that. We've set it to all the things we want to put in there, and as soon as we hit to resume into the game, our dwarves should start putting all the stuff that they've brought with them into that camp. They should, rather. They don't seem to be that interested in it. That's bizarre. Normally when you do that kind of thing, the dwarves go all over putting their things away, but apparently they're not interested today. Okay, well that's strange. I'm going to have to take a look at that in a second. Although I have a feeling I know why that would be. But that's okay. We're going to take a look down here and see how our dwarves are doing in the digging area. Lots of fancy gemstones and fancy colored walls going up in here. We can take a look at them with our K key and see what they are. We have microcline here. We have limonite there. What's this? This is tiger eyes, some gemstones for us. That's all well and good. As our dwarves mine out more and more, they'll get more of that job done. We'll actually be able to get started. What I may do here is I may cut ahead until we actually have those rooms finished. Because once we have that done, we'll be able to do some real productive work. As it stands, they need to build those rooms before we can get any more work moving. So I may just jump ahead to that being done. That's probably the best for you guys, because it's going to be a little bit dull here, as our dwarves don't seem to want to be moving anything. I can tell them to remove the caravan, but I'm a little bit hesitant to do that while all of our stuff is still in there. If we come over here and check our stockpile, it didn't change the settings. That's strange. It's still an animal stockpile. Oh, it's because I didn't do it beforehand. Yeah, okay, well what happened there was I set it to be a stockpile. I went down to custom stockpile, I set our custom stockpile settings, but I had already placed this stockpile as being an animal stockpile, so it didn't get the right settings in it. So what we're going to do is we'll fix that. We'll go in with there with Q. Q is how you interact with things. In here, we see in the menu on the right hand, if we hit S, we can change the settings. So we're going to change the settings over here. We'll turn off animals. We'll turn everything else we had turned on previously back on. There we go. We're hitting E to turn everything on. I could have just hit allow all and then disabled the things I didn't want, but that works out at about the same speed. And now when we go back into the game, our dwarves should start putting things away in there. There we go. You see we're starting to move some of the wood in. As our crew starts to gather some of the different things, we got yarn and cloth, all those kinds of things being moved into our stockpile. And that's good, because once we can get our fortress inside the fortress, and no longer just sitting outside of the grass, we'll be a lot more secure. We're probably not going to be attacked by anything for quite a while, but as it stands, it would be a lot happier if we had at least that indoor security. So, once we get some more of our defensive measures up and going, we'll be a lot happier yet again, but for the time being, we'll make do with what we got. We got a lot of wood coming in, which is going to be useful in a minute, and we have a lot of stone in the camp already, so that's going to be good too. Now, there's a lot of things we're going to have to start building, but we can't necessarily do that yet because we don't have any of our workshops set up. So we want our miners, who are trying to help out now with the whole hauling task, I think. Either that or they're drinking. That little down blue arrow generally means they're thirsty, so your crew will come back and get a drink and then go back to their jobs. We're only like helpful hands here. We're not actually giving direct orders that the dwarves have to follow. What we do is more of a support role. We tell them what we want them to do, and then they'll go and do it at their own pace. And if they're unhappy, they won't do it at all, which means you have to keep a close eye on your dwarves' happiness, otherwise things just don't get done. So we're going to come in here and we're trying to clean things up, make sure everyone's nice and happy, get them out of the cold, out of the... Oh, it's hot here, but... Oh, look at that. We got some wild animals here. What are these? These are badger boars, so they might cause some problems for our dwarves if they get too close, but it looks like they're just going on their merry way, so we should be alright with them. There are wild animals that come through the world on their own like that. We have a frog over here, some kind of vermin hiding in the grass. They might have gotten out of sight. They're kind of hard to focus on because of the way they move. But that was a little frog shape right about there. See, there it is. There it is. Let's see if I can catch it when it's visible. Come on. There you are. Ah! It's hiding from me. Come on. There we go. Okay, we might be able to see him now. There we go. We have a toad there. So that's the kind of vermin we're talking about that our cats will help us catch if they're actually in our fortress. For the time being, we're not going to worry too much about them because they're just outside and that's where they're fine. But it will be important later on. We still have a lot of digging in here to do, though. A lot of digging. And a lot of our dwarves won't have anything to do until we actually start getting these things moving. So it's not necessarily ideal for us, but that's okay. What we might take a look at in a second... No, we'll wait a little while. What we're going to take a look at later on, then, is our Dwarf Therapist tool, because that's very useful at getting the specific skills for our dwarves to do certain things, figure out what's actually going on with them. But as we already know what these dwarf skills are, we're not going to worry about it until we get some migrants, some more dwarves coming to join our fantastic place. As it stands, we're probably safe as is, unless our miners start hauling things. Yes, they are. Alright, we're going to go into Dwarf Therapist right now then. Do a couple little changes, because that is an important tool for making sure everything runs like it should. So we'll go into our utilities here in our lazy new pack, open up Dwarf Therapist, and when it loads up... Ooh, hello, my mistake there, I fixed that. Whoops. Okay, that's unfortunate. Anyway, what we have going on here then is our dwarves. This is our Dwarf Therapist tool, so we're going to get this nice and full screen as well. It's a lot of white space right now, but we have all of our skills here. This is all the possible skills. And the skills with dots in them are skills that their people are particularly skilled at, surprisingly enough. The bigger the square in it, the more skill they have. So our miners have already gone up to level 7. They've only leveled up twice each, based on the activity they've been doing. Excuse me. As your dwarves level up, they get vaguely better at what they're doing, which is always good to see. And they get a bit faster at it. Some skills they get to make better resources, like if they're, say, carpenter. The more skilled they are at it, the better things they will make. If they are a woodcutter, the better skilled at it, the faster they will be. And that kind of thing works out across a variety of different skills. Now, as we can see, the people we have very specific jobs to do, and the things that are in blue are jobs that they have been told they are allowed to do. For some of our people, we don't want that to happen. For example, for our miners, we do not want them to be doing hauling work. So we're going to come in here, we're going to turn off wood hauling, and we're going to turn off item hauling for both of our mining, both of our mining dwarves. Wood hauling is off, item hauling is off. We also want to turn off food hauling. We want to turn off refuse hauling. We don't want them to be doing any heavy lifting, basically, is the short thing here. We don't want them to be doing burials or stone hauling. We turn off their hauling labors. These are all hauling labors, come to think of it. I don't know why it took me so long to realize that. Because while they're very good at mining, we need them to be doing the mining. And if they're doing hauling jobs, they're not going to be doing that. So as it stands, they'll actually get those jobs done. They'll be doing the digging and not doing these other things. So by selectively picking what jobs people can and cannot do, we're helping to make sure the jobs we want to get done actually get done. They will not break these rules. If you say that they can or cannot do something, then they will be able to or will not be able to do it. If we want someone to be able to do a new job, we can give them that job by clicking on it. They won't be skilled at it, but they will try their best. But for the time being, all we want to do is make sure our mason dwarves, or rather our mining dwarves, are not carrying our goods. So we're going to commit those changes here, and bam, that is now in effect. So if we come back into our game here, we can resume, and we will find that our dwarves are doing exactly what we told them to. Our miner dwarves will no longer start picking up those resources, and people will continue to move our resources into the fortress. As our miners continue to dig, they will get more and more of our rooms dug out, and we'll be closer to being able to do what we're trying to do here. There is, of course, a lot of junk all over the floor that we're going to have to clean up in a minute, but that's okay. This is a good start for us. However, I think what we're going to do now is we're probably going to stop this episode here for now, and when we come back again next time, we'll have those rooms dug out and we'll be able to make a little bit more progress, because we have done a bunch of stuff here to start us off. So, let me quickly check the time and make sure that is actually an appropriate response. Yes, indeed, we are about 40 minutes into this episode, 38 minutes, something like that. So, this is probably a good time to end the episode here for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. This has been Vanguard of Valor playing Dwarf Fortress at long last. This episode has hopefully not been too boring. I know there's lots of talking still, but we're in the game now, so it's gotta be worth something. We're actually building things. We're moving resources. We've got dwarves doing dwarfy work. So that's gotta be worth something. So if you've enjoyed the episode, don't forget to leave me a like on the episode. It's great to see some feedback too, see what you guys think about Dwarf Fortress, because I know it's very different from most traditional games we've been playing on this channel, but it's a very cool game as well in my opinion, so I'd like to see what you think. And, yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.